This is my video update on this Saturday afternoon, January the 20th. Let's talk about some news and let's start things off with an article via CNN with the title, Grim Realization Sets In Over the State of Ukraine War as Funding Fight Continues in Washington. So I had a bunch of this article highlighted, and I was going to read you various sections from this article by CNN. But you know, I don't think I really need to go into too much detail with this article. Putin wine, no, not Putin wine, Putin wine. I thought it said Putin, the Putin Group, developing by the Putin Group. No. It's the the Putin Group. So yeah, I was going to get into some detail with this article, but I don't think I really need to. Basically, what this article from CNN is saying is that if the Biden White House does not get the $61 billion to Project Ukraine, then the United States, they run the risk of having Donald Trump become president of the United States. And if Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, well, then he will stop the funding to Ukraine and he will end the war. And according to the Biden White House, they are trying to convince Congress that this would be a bad thing. This would be a very bad thing to stop the war and to stop the suffering and the destruction and the deaths. This would be very, very bad, and it would send all the wrong messages. And so that is why Congress, Speaker Johnson, they have to make sure that they approve the $61 billion to Elensky, and they do it very, very quickly because time is running out, and there really is a good possibility that Donald Trump becomes president, and then all of Project Ukraine is over. And the Biden White House, they can't have that. Congress can't have that. The United States, they can't let that happen, according to this article from CNN and according to various anonymous sources and officials that were interviewed. This would be the absolute worst thing for Ukraine, for the United States, for the entire world, if Donald Trump wins the elections and he puts a stop to the money going to Project Ukraine. So that is basically the the point of this article. They have to get $61 billion to Elensky because the Uniparty runs the risk of a President Donald Trump, and that would put an end to the grift. That's right, to all the washing that is taking place. But you know, the article says a couple of other interesting things, to be honest. Outside of the main message, which is Orange Man bad, and Orange Man might actually stop the conflict in Ukraine, the article also says that the European Union is tapped out. The EU cannot give much more weapons and money because they are, I think the article says that the European Union, they are scraping the bottom of the barrel. So the EU is pretty much tapped out, and the US has to send the $61 billion to Ukraine because it's going to look bad to the US's allies in Europe if they drop Ukraine and they're not supporting Project Ukraine while the European Union is out of funds and out of weapons. So the article makes that case. And then the article also says that 2024 is going to be a year of regrouping, is what the article claims. It says that the counteroffensive, the super duper spring, winter, fall spring counteroffensive failed. It failed, and they weren't defeated. We can't say that the Ukraine military was defeated. It just failed. It just kind of failed. And the Ukraine military needs some time to regroup in 2024. It needs to build weapons factories. It needs to produce drones and missiles and all these things to regroup, to mobilize more men, 500,000 more men, and regroup in 2024. And then the article also says that the Russian military, for some reason, is also battered and needs to regroup as well in 2024. So there are going to be no big offensives in 2024. Both sides are just not capable of launching an offensive. They're going to need this year to regroup and get everything in order. And then in 2025, that's when we're going to see a whole lot of action. And in 2025, and I think this is the best part of this article, in 2025, CNN claims via these anonymous officials that they interviewed that Ukraine will be ready to launch another super duper counteroffensive. That is right. Because the anonymous officials that CNN interviewed, they claim that this war could go on for a year, 3 years, 5 years, even 10 years. But in 2025, if the 61 billion gets to Elensky and to the Ukraine military, then they will be able to launch another counteroffensive. And that's not the best part. The best part is that this counteroffensive that they're going to launch in 2025 is going to be exactly the same counteroffensive that they launched last spring, summer. The same exact thing. The same route, the same objective. Everything is going to be the same. Tokmak, Melitopol, Sea of Azov, missiles into Crimea, split the Russian military, and Putin's capitulation. the same freaking thing. That is what CNN is reporting. But 2024, we have to get 61 billion because we have to regroup. Everybody has to regroup, and come 2025, we're going to have spring, summer, winter, fall counteroffensive part 2. Because the first counteroffensive into Tokmak and Melitopol and the Sea of Azov went so well that they're going to give it another go in 2025. So let's get that 61 billion to Elensky before Trump becomes president, and all will be good in 2025. And actually, the article even says that various officials are urging Congress and the Biden White House to make sure that 61 billion actually hits the bank account of Elensky. They can't have any money lying around in the treasury. If Donald Trump were to become president, because Donald Trump can put a stop to any money that's already been approved, but has not been sent to Elensky. So they're saying, look, we got to make sure that all 61 billion lands into the coffers of Ukraine, because we can't risk Trump becoming president and stopping 5 or 10 or 20 billion that has not been sent to Kiev if Trump were to become president. The article also says that one of the backup plans, or one of the other funding possibilities that the Biden White House is exploring, is of course the 300 billion in Russian frozen assets. But the only problem there, according to CNN, is that the Biden White House is speaking with lawyers, and they're trying to find the various loopholes in order to steal this money. And once the lawyers find those loopholes, once they identify those loopholes, then they just need the G7 to buy into the stealing of the Russian frozen assets, and then they'll be able to get 300 billion to Elensky as well. So yeah, that's the CNN article. Talk about stringing everybody along with Project Ukraine, huh? What a grift, what a con this Project Ukraine is. But they are stringing everybody along, right? Just last week, it was we have to get 61 billion to the Elensky regime, because if we don't get 61 billion to Project Ukraine, then Russia's going to march towards Paris and London and Rome and Madrid and all of that stuff, right? So we have to make sure that we get 61 billion to Project Ukraine. That was just last week. 4 or 5 months ago, it was we have to get money and weapons to Project Ukraine because of the big super duper counteroffensive, which is going to defeat the Russian army and will lead to the Putin's capitulation and the Putin administration's downfall, removal, right? That was just 4 or 5 months ago. A year ago, it was we have to get money and weapons to Project Ukraine because Elensky is Churchill, right? And then a year and a half ago, it was we have to get money to Project Ukraine because they're this shining democracy on a hill, and they're fighting for collective West values, right? That was a year and a half ago. So I mean, yeah, it was. They're just stringing this thing along. 2024, it's going to be a regrouping, a rebuilding year. 2024. So let's just get the 61 billion just in case Trump becomes president, just in case he becomes president. Let's get the 61 billion. Let's get the 50 billion from the European Union approved. So let's find a way to get past Orban's veto. And then we can find a way to steal the 300 billion and we're all good. Right? And then we can wait till 2025 where another counteroffensive is going to be launched in the same exact direction as the previous counteroffensive. All right. So that is the article from CNN. And the European Union, they have announced a 13th sanctions package. Are they on number 13? Or number 33. I'm not sure anymore. Anyway, the European Union, they have announced that they're going to prepare a 13th sanctions package against Russia. And according to Bloomberg, the European Union, they are timing this sanctions package to be announced on the 24th. Wow, beautiful, huh? On the 24th of February, to coincide with the 2-year anniversary of the special military operation. That's the way they think. That is the way they think. Everything's about media and optics and creating this big 2-year event with 300 billion of frozen assets stolen and a 13th sanctions package and the Russian military and economy in tatters. That's the plan. It's all about the info war, the media optics of it all. So that is the European Union. And sticking with Europe, we have some news coming out of Germany and Slovakia, mainly that both Germany and Slovakia are saying that they have been demilitarized. The German defense minister, Mr. Pistorius, he came out with some statements the other day, and he said that Germany, they have no more weapons to give to Ukraine. They have the Taurus missiles, but Pistorius said that at this moment, the Taurus missiles are a no-go. Germany is not prepared to send the Taurus missiles to the Elensky regime. We know that the parliament in Germany, they also voted against the idea of sending Taurus missiles to Ukraine. But Pistorius, he's like, look, we just don't have the weapons to give at this moment in time. He also said that if Germany were to give whatever weapons it has left, then it would mean that Germany's military would pretty much be defenseless, I think is the word that he used. Yeah, defenseless. Otherwise, we would be defenseless ourselves, Pistorius warned. So that is Germany, the German defense minister, and the defense minister from Slovakia, Mr. Kalinak, who is the new defense minister of Slovakia. He said that Slovakia has been demilitarized by the former government. So this guy comes into office and he takes a look around at the military weapons, the inventory of Slovakia, and he came out with a statement saying there's really nothing left. We have no fighter jets, we have no weapons, no ammunition, nothing. He is saying that the previous government, they have completely emptied out the inventory of the Slovakian military. That is what he said. The former government left us without our own anti-aircraft defenses, without combat aviation, and we don't even have the promised 700 million for MiGs, which the government also handed over to Ukraine, Kalinick stated. So, Germany, demilitarized. Slovakia, demilitarized. We need to create a graphic which has a demilitarized stamp on these countries. I mean, my God. Look, CNN, they said it in their article. According to U.S. officials, the European Union is tapped out. They're scraping from the bottom of the barrel, according to anonymous sources from CNN. So let's shift gears and talk about another EU country, and that country is France. So 2 days ago, I reported on a Russian missile strike in Kharkov, and according to the Russian Ministry of Defense, this missile strike annihilated 60 French mercenaries. We'll call them mercenaries, right? 60 French mercenaries were annihilated in Kharkov, and Macron was so upset that he came out with a statement, and he was like, Putin has to lose. Russia must be defeated, and I am going to send 40 Scout missiles and a bunch of bombs and ammunition to Elensky right away. That's how upset Macron was upon hearing the news that 60 French mercenaries were deleted in this missile strike. So we have some more news connected to this missile strike. France, they have been very upset about this incident. They are very upset about this incident. The claim that 60 mercenaries were operating in Kharkov, and the French Foreign Ministry, they came out with a statement, and they said, and I quote, France has no mercenaries, neither in Ukraine nor elsewhere. That's a direct quote. France has no mercenaries in Ukraine and anywhere else. Zero, zilch, nada, nichevo, nothing. No mercenaries anywhere for France. That's what the French Foreign Ministry said. And then the French Ministry of Defense, they come along and they say, well, that's not exactly right. And so the French Minister of Defense, Lecornu, he was speaking to the broadcaster LCI on Friday, and he said, and I quote, there are French civilians who went to fight in Ukraine in Ukrainian military uniform. We can't ban them from doing that. We are still a democracy. Lecornu insisted, however, that these people have no connection with the French armed forces, do not wear French uniform, and are not associated with the French military institutions. He refused to comment on the matter further, saying that anything else would be used by Russia in its information war. Yes, the Russian information war. Can't give the Russian information war anything that they can use. Man, talk about an embarrassing incident for France. Very embarrassing incident for France. So yeah, the Ministry of Defense, they came out and they said, we do have mercenaries in Ukraine. We have mercenaries in Ukraine. At least that's what we're going to call them, right? All of us, we're going to call them mercenaries. And they're in Ukraine, yes. But they have no connection whatsoever with the French armed forces. They're not wearing a French uniform. They're not associated with the French military institutions. That is the statement from the Ministry of Defense. And the Russian Foreign Ministry, they actually summoned the French ambassador, Pierre Levy, and they summoned the French ambassador and they told the ambassador of France in Russia that it's France's fault that these 60 mercenaries were annihilated in Kharkov. Why were they there? Why did you send? Why did you approve? Why did you look the other way? Why did you look the other way and allow these people to go to Ukraine and to fight? And so Maria Zakharova, she said, waging the proxy war by the West, including France, the steady growth in weapons and military hardware supply to the Elensky regime contradicts statements about the importance of establishing peace, escalate hostilities, lead to numerous civilian casualties, and turn it into an accomplice to the war crimes of the Kiev government. That is what Maria Zakharova said. Officials told the envoy, the Russian ambassador in Russia, that Paris itself was to blame for the mass casualties among the French nationals. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said in a statement on Friday. So there's a warning here from Zakharova, from the Russian Foreign Ministry. All these people are an accomplice to the war crimes. All these mercenaries, all these people that are in Ukraine from the collective West fighting with the Elensky regime, they are accomplices to war crimes. And as I said in my video a couple of days ago, when I first talked about this story, now it's picking up a lot of momentum, this story. I talked about it 2 days ago. And I said, you know, the Russian Ministry of Defense, it looks like the Russian military is now actively targeting these mercenaries from NATO countries. They're actively going after these people now. And that's bad news for, well, it's bad news for these mercenaries and bad news for the collective West, because you're going to get more cases like this one, like what's happening in France at the moment, where these countries are kind of caught with their pants down, and they're having to come out with all of these statements trying to explain away why they have their citizens in Kharkov fighting Russia. So anyway, that is the update on this story about the French mercenaries. And we actually had a statement from one of the NATO commanders, Rob Bauer. I believe he's from the Netherlands, but he's a NATO commander. He came out with a statement yesterday, and he said that NATO needs to prepare for war with Russia in 20 years, an all-out war with Russia in 20 years. Quote, we have to realize it's not a given that we are in peace, and that's why we are preparing for a conflict with Russia, Bauer stated. It starts there, the realization that not everything is plannable and not everything is going to be hunky-dory in the next 20 years. Got to keep the fear going, got to keep the grift going, got to keep Project Ukraine going. So 20 years, in the next 20 years, there's going to be a NATO conflict with Russia. Yesterday, I did a video talking about the UK Defense Minister, Grant Shapps, and he said that, what did he say? In 5 years? In 5 years, the UK will be at war with Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, and a whole bunch of other countries. That was the UK Defense Minister. And 2 days ago, I did a video where I talked about how Kaja Kallas, the Prime Minister of Estonia, and the soon-to-be, if you believe the rumors, the soon-to-be Foreign Minister of the European Union, part of the EU Dream Team, Kaja Kallas, she said that there's going to be a war with Russia in 3 years, I believe is what she said. And I think like a week ago, there was another story. I forgot who was saying it, but someone else in the collective West was saying that there's going to be a war between NATO and Russia in like a year. So, you know, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 20 years. Just got to keep the EU citizens afraid. Keep them very afraid and keep them invested in Project Ukraine, because this is good for business. It's good for the NATO business, and that is what NATO is. After all, it is a big business that employs a lot of people and gives a lot of money to think tanks and makes a lot of people very wealthy. And you got to keep the NATO business open for business. So you got to keep that going. You got to keep the money washing. And you got to keep the citizens of the EU afraid. You got to keep them afraid. Keep them afraid. Make sure that you stay in power because of their fear. And because everyone is afraid, you can start imposing all kinds of different laws and different policies like central bank digital currencies and disinformation laws and hate speech laws and stuff like that because of Russian disinformation. What did the defense minister of France say? We can't tell you any more about what happened to these French mercenaries because of Russian disinformation. So that's why they need to keep this thing going for 20 years, according to this NATO commander, Rob Bauer. Of course, there are people in Europe, in the United States, in the collective West, that also do want a war with Russia. You have those people as well, the Lindsey Grahams and the Ben Hodges and Mitch McConnells, all of these guys, Jungle Joseph Borrell, who actually do want a war with Russia. They actually believe that they can defeat the Russian military. NATO can invade Russia and win. So you also have those people as well. But let's shift gears now and let's talk a bit about what is happening in the Middle East with the Houthis and the Red Sea. And yesterday, the Houthis, they hit some more ships crossing through the Red Sea, or trying to cross through the Red Sea. Actually, one of the ships was a Greek ship, and there was a video that was Speed Racer, Speed Racer, and there was a video that was published on social media, which actually shows this Greek ship, I believe a Greek tanker. It was hit by a Houthi missile. So that video is on the interwebs. And the Houthis, they hit some ships, and yesterday the U.S. launched some missiles into Yemen, and this is how this thing is going to go for many, many weeks until we get some sort of false flag or some sort of escalation, which will compel the United States and the UK to do something more than just missile strikes into Yemen, which Joe Biden himself admitted yesterday they're not working, and he has no idea why they're launching these missiles into Yemen, but they will continue to launch these missiles into Yemen, even though there's no real strategy to this plan that the U.S. and the UK has undertaken in the Red Sea. But the Houthis, Yemen, they actually did announce yesterday that they are going to allow Russian and Chinese ships safe passage through the Red Sea. In a remarkable development, and at a moment European retailers and factories are beginning to bear the brunt of the global shipping chaos and soaring Red Sea transit risk, the Houthis have declared safe passage for Russia and China. A senior Houthi official, Mohammed al-Bukhati, mentioned these U.S. rivals by name in an interview with the Russian outlet Izvestia on Friday. As for all other countries, including Russia and China, their shipping in the region is not threatened, he said, stipulating this will remain as long as they are not linked to Israel or its supporters. So that is an official statement from this Houthi official. The Economist, they claim that this strategy by Yemen is working. According to The Economist, last year only 51 ships made the journey around the Cape of Good Hope in the week to January 11th. That figure more than tripled in the same period this year. These maps and charts show how conflict in the Middle East has disrupted global trade. So that's The Economist saying that this strategy, unlike the US and the UK, which appear to not have a strategy with these missiles being launched into Yemen, Yemen does have a strategy. You may not like it. You may consider it piracy. You may think it's wrong. You may consider the Houthis as heroes, whichever side you fall on. This is working. This is working. It is disrupting global trade. And The Economist is admitting as much. All right. How are we doing on time? We're doing all right on time. Let's do some clown worlds. So there's a video on Twitter and on Telegram which shows two British minesweepers colliding. It shows these ships colliding in Bahrain, I believe, is where these minesweepers collided. Yes, Bahrain. Preliminary damage from the collision between the HMS Chiddingfold and HMS Bangor amounted to at least £100,000, according to various reports. So yeah, these are the British minesweepers colliding. And I wonder if these were the British minesweepers that were going to get sent into the Black Sea in order to scare off the Russian Black Sea fleet. Are these the minesweepers that we're talking about? Oh man. And Grant Shapps is talking about how the UK is going to go to war with 4 or 5 countries, including Russia and China. Yeah, good luck with that, Grant Shapps, UK Defense Minister. What else? The Kiev Independent, they are reporting that the foreign minister of Ukraine is trying to organize talks between Elensky and Xi Jinping. It's clown world, everybody. It really is clown world. Just 2 days ago, Elensky was insulting the Chinese premier, saying that the Chinese premier is below him. I only talk to decision makers. And Sean Penn. And Chris Christie. And Lindsey Graham. And Kaya Kallas. And Annalena Baerbock. But that's it. I only talk to those decision makers. And Anthony Blinken. Those are the decision makers that I talk to. Yeah, so he was insulting the premier of China. He's below him. And now Kaluba, the Jedi Master. It's a Jedi. It's a Jedi. It really is a Jedi. May the Force be with you, young Skywalker. What was I saying? Yeah, so now the foreign minister, Kaluba, he wants to organize a meeting with Xi Jinping. Go figure. Go figure. And talking about organizing meetings, final clown world, Elensky is inviting Trump to Kiev. According to the Kiev Independent, President Elensky has extended an invitation to Donald Trump to visit Kiev with a specific condition attached. The former US president must demonstrate his ability to bring an end to the war with Russia within 24 hours, as he once promised. That one's easy. That one's easy, Elensky. Donald Trump can actually tell you this plan over the phone. He doesn't have to travel to Kiev. I can actually tell you what this plan is. Stop money going to your bank account. Conflict over. That's it. That's it. Nothing more needs to be done. But, I think there's something more sinister in this invitation from Elensky. Something much more sinister, and I think we all know what it is. We all know what the globalists have thought up. They're very afraid of Trump becoming president. The lawfare hasn't worked. Trying to remove Trump from the ballot doesn't seem to be working. And so they're going to enact the nuclear option, the Elensky curse. The Elensky curse. So Schumer called up Elensky and he said, Volodymyr, it's time to enact the Elensky curse. And Volodymyr said, you got it. You got it, Mr. Schumer. I'm on it. And that's it. The invitation has been extended to Trump. And they're waiting for the trap to be set, for Trump to travel to Kiev, shake Elensky's hand, and that's it. That's it. So that's what's going on here. By the way, has anyone seen Austin? Any videos, any photos of U.S. Secretary of Defense Austin? Anyone? Nothing. Nada. Where is Austin? All right, that's the video. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. Go to the Duran shop. 15% off all t-shirts, new merch coming, including this new brand, this new merch that I am wearing today, which is awesome. So I will fill you all in on the new merch that will be announced very, very soon. All right, that is the video. Take care.